Let's get an example about a forward contract. The case study is Pioneer Limited, a gold producer, goes short in a forward contract with an exercise price of $500 per ounce, 400 ounces, only to be exercised in 6 months. Calculate the gain or loss in the following cases. So this case study is exactly the opposite of the previous case study, which means in the previous case study we had a buyer, now we have a seller, which means we compare between the long position and short position and we have exactly the same numbers. So let's look at this case study again. So we know that Pioneer Limited is a gold producer. What do you mean by gold producer? They produce gold. That is their good that they are going to sell. They go short. What do you mean by short? Start with the definition and relationships before you solve the question. So short, it means that you sell. Consequently, in the future, we have two options. Either the price in the market will increase or the price will decrease. So in the future, if the price increase, so this means that you're going to sell at a contract price which is lower than the higher market price. You make a gain or loss. You make a loss. But what will happen if the future market price decreases lower than the contract price? It means that you're going to sell at a higher contract price compared to the lower market price. So this means that you make a gain. Therefore, the relationship between our gain and price is positive or negative. It's a negative relationship. Every time the price decreases, your gain increases. Therefore, if we're going to draw it, it will be upward slope or downward slope? It will be a downward slope. So, in this question, we know that our exercise price, our contract price, our strike price is $500 and the quantity is 100 ounces. It will be exercised in 6 months. The first scenario is if the market gold price after 6 months is 700. So I know that the price increased from the relationship we mentioned. If the price increases for a seller, they will make a loss. Therefore, our formula for gain or loss will be our contract price or strike price or exercise price minus underlying price, which is the price in the market in the future. This will give you gain or loss per unit multiplied by quantity to get total gain or loss. So I know that we have a contract price of 500 minus underlying price, the price in the market 700. So 500 minus 700, it will give us negative $200 per unit. It means that we will make a loss of $200 per unit. If we would like to get our total gain or loss multiplied by the quantity, our quantity is 100 ounces. So negative 200 times 100, it will give us negative 20,000. So this means that we will make a gain of negative $20,000 or we will make a loss of $20,000. So this means that if you put a negative, you write gain. If you remove the negative, you write loss. Don't write it as loss of negative 20,000 because negative, it means positive. It means that in this case, if you wrote loss of negative 20,000, it means that you made a gain of 20,000. The second scenario, if market gold price after 6 months is lower, 400, we know that for a short position, for a seller, if the price decreases, the seller will make a gain. So our formula of gain or loss will be the same, which is K minus U multiplied by quantity. So what's our contract price? 500 minus our market price, underlying price, 400. So 500 minus 400, it will give us 100. So this means that in this scenario, we will make a gain of $100 per unit. To get total gain or loss, we need to multiply by the quantity. Our quantity is 100, so multiplied by 100, it will give us a gain of $10,000. The next part of the question is, draw the short position in the forward contract based on the two scenarios. So we know that when we draw it, it will be downward slope. In our x-axis, we have here our underlying price, which is the market price prevailing in the future. The point of intersection here is 0. On our y-axis, above 0 is a gain, below 0 is a loss. So we will draw a downward slope because we have a negative relationship between gain and loss. And that's why I said at the beginning, if you draw the relationship, it will be much easier for you. The point of intersection here is always our contract price. We know that if the price increases, we make a loss. If the price decreases, we make a gain. So let's start with the first scenario. The first scenario is a higher price at 700. So at 700, we will go down till we intersect our curve and then go horizontally. This will give us a loss of $200 per unit. The second scenario is a lower price of 400. If we go up till we intersect with our curve and then we go horizontally, this will give us a gain of $100 per unit. The next part of the question is, Pioneer Limited is considered arbitrager, hedger, speculator, or trader. Read the case study. Pioneer Limited is a gold producer. What do I mean by gold producer? It means that they produce gold. So gold is their final good that they need to sell. Therefore, they are afraid that in the future, if the price decreases, it means that their sales will decrease. Consequently, their profit will decrease or they could make a loss. So this means that they have a risk level. Consequently, they go into the forward contract or a derivative contract in order to minimize or eliminate this risk by transferring this risk to another party. Therefore, Pioneer Limited is considered doing hedging. Therefore, they are an example of a hedger. The next part of the question is, future contracts are considered. We know that future contracts are considered public contracts. So what I mean by public contracts? It's traded in a stock market. Therefore, it is exchange traded or traded in exchange. The next part of the question is, future contracts are binding contracts, non-binding contracts. Both 1 and 2 are correct. Neither 1 nor 2 are correct. We know that future contracts and forward contracts, both of them are considered binding contracts. What do I mean by the word binding? It means that you are obliged to exercise, either you make a gain or loss. You are obliged to exercise. That's why they are binding contracts.